Hey, so I thought it'd be fun as this has come up. I usually share this in my trainings when it's asked, and I had like a really beautiful conversation recently with someone who was like, we were talking about yoga, and there's so many misconceptions, and just my story of why I teach yoga the way I do, why, okay, so let's just get to the beginning. When I first experienced yoga because I was going through a lot of mental health stuff, grief, depression, self-harm, different things that I just didn't understand. Sorry, my cat is like such an adorable essence of my life, but is a nuisance when I do these videos. So we'll just ignore her. So anyways, I was struggling mentally. And I'm just really, if you follow me on Instagram, you know, I'm a bit of an ocean. I am a deep, deep soul. So I feel a lot. I'm very sensitive. And yoga was something that just really nourished me. And I actually originally was probably using it in an unhealthy way because I wanted, like in high school, it was like to stay skinny. And I was, practicing yoga almost every morning before school, like my junior year. And then, when I got to college, I was able to practice more regularly. And at the time, my fiance then, husband now, was getting ready to deploy to Afghanistan. And I was also kind of struggling with what I wanted to do with my life, right? Just like anybody at age 18, 19 is like, I was 18. I was actually engaged before I even graduated high school. So yeah, I feel deeply, very sensitive. But yeah, so I ended up, my teacher in college, my yoga teacher, she had shown me an article with how yoga and meditation was helping those returning from deployment. And I thought that was so beautiful. And I was like, that's what I want to do. And so pretty shortly then, my parents gifted me yoga, my 200-hour teacher training for Christmas that year. And I started. So the program that I did was a therapeutic program, but it was more of a general program on therapeutics, so we learned a little bit about a lot of things. And when I finished the program, husband gets back he was my fiance, gets back from Afghanistan, we get married, moved to Fort Bragg. And at Fort Bragg, that's when I started teaching, and I really jumped into the community and just started teaching anywhere I could. And while I was doing that, I got my advanced yoga therapy training and all that other stuff. So I was in this space of learning a lot of things. But while I was doing that, I was also working full-time one-on-one with people. And what I was learning was, okay, so this is supposed to help with back pain, but that didn't help everybody. It was never one size fits all. It really was, it had to be person-centered. It had to be uniquely tailored to the individual, because somebody would come in with a handful of different pathologies, and it wasn't one size fits all, even in my groups that I did. So I really learned through actual doing and practicing with people. But in my personal life at the time, as I was getting deeper into yoga, there was a lot of concern around, well, yoga's a religion, is it sinful? And so I was also really struggling through my own deep, okay, I know there's no way yoga is sinful, at least for me. Look at what it's done to my body, and things that come from God are good. So how can something so good that has literally saved my life be something that's bad? And so that's when I really dove deep into the Bible with it and learned as much as I could about yoga philosophy regarding that stuff. And then even more so, working biomechanically with people, like using yoga practice to manage chronic pain, stress reduction, inflammation, range of motion, structural integrity, all these different things. And so I was able to really formulate, and I think one of the reasons I have this ability to speak to so many different populations and work with very diverse types of people, like right now I do stuff with, like a lot of stuff I do, the recipients it's mandated. So it's not, where usually like in kind of the civilian sector, it's like people are choosing, they want to come to yoga, or they're seeking that one-on-one session where it's a different experience with what I'm doing now. But I think the reason it works is because early on, I had to learn how to articulate. I had to learn how to diversify what I'm speaking about. And then also because I dove so deep into the physiological aspect, that really gave me this foundation, because it was like, okay, this is a science. This is a technology for wellness. It's not a religion. And so I spent several years working a lot with physical ailments and working with mental health, especially with my work with the Wounded Warrior Project. Like chronic pain, but I really learned about the social pain or the psychosocial pain cycle that happens. And just, again, it was a lot of stuff in the mind. Not saying that pain isn't a real experience, it is. But the mind, the brain, it's all nervous system. It's so initiated by inflammation in our nervous system, and we can navigate that through different neural input or redirection with the mind. And so that it went from like a lot of stuff around physical stuff with yoga. I've never been a performance type of yoga teacher, and I say that with kindness of like, it's fun, but the people I work with, there's no, like, they can hardly walk to their mailbox, okay? Or there's different injuries there. So I've never really dove into like the super fitness, performance type of yoga. It has always really been around therapeutic integration, improving quality of life, improving structural healing and functional movement patterns. That's what it's been about for me in my yoga career. But what happened was I started learning more about mental health and about what happens with neural networks in the brain, neuroplasticity. So how do we heal trauma? And I got really into the trauma recovery stuff for several years. While I was also, I got my holistic life coaching certification, and then I started leading yoga teacher trainings. And so I had this deep love and fascination for mental health and yoga, and a strong understanding of tailoring sequences and experiences for people, like person-centered experiences, for different ailments or problems that people were struggling with. So I had these two aspects, right? And of course, all the trauma recovery, which trauma is simply a separation between the mind and body. And yoga is union of mind and body. Trauma is disembodiment. Yoga is embodiment. And sorry, my cat, hold on. No! Okay. So I was really in that world, but I felt like there was still something missing. And it wasn't until I really started learning about mind-body medicine. And I struggled for a long time, like in my heart because people would say, one is like, I'm younger, so I dealt with a lot of ageist stuff. And that was hard because I felt like I had to prove myself, even though I could deeply understand and navigate, and I had a lot of education from so many different places. But usually the thing it was like, well, what lineage are you? Like, who are you as a teacher? Like, what's your lineage? Don't steal from yoga. And I struggled with that because I'm like, okay, we're helping people. And the stories that I've experienced, especially over the past 8-9 years of helping people through yoga, and even myself, the stories are profound. And so I struggle with this, like, I have to pick a lineage, but I use a lot of different techniques and tools. And there's stuff that I use that isn't really even, is it yoga? I don't know. And it wasn't until I found mind-body medicine that I was like, this is what I do. Oh my goodness. Like, I recognized my work so much in the meaning and the definition of all that. And it was this catalyst for me that eventually brought me into more of the quantum world, into really utilizing meditation in ways that change the reality of which I live. And what I mean by that is my perspective. It was my framework of knowing. And the yoga practice is such a profound tool to access that. Because the yoga practice is where we're going through the body to change patterns, to release tension that clogs the mind, to release trauma. Yes, the body carries your traumas, but there's a lot of ways that we release it. And really your triggers, that's your body going, hey, I still exist. I'm here. Come look at me. Come heal me. Come love me. Come give compassion to me. Don't avoid me. But we tend to just kind of go, ugh, and then we blame other people for our own traumas or our own triggers, but that's a whole other video. So with that being said, it was like this missing piece that really made sense to why the healing and the perspectives and the changes that I was seeing in people, and which goes into things that I've taught for years around, energy is the byproduct of matter times current. So there's Einstein, these different things in physics, these different things in quantum physics, that you can see relay into healing, holistic healing. Why does it work that way? And so this past year has been a really profound shift for me, because the stuff that I used to go, oh, that's so esoteric, and I actually hate that word. That's so weird. I mean, you guys, I authored a book on the chakras, but it was all about clinical integration. How do you apply into clinic? What is practical, or how can you use this as treatment plans for patients, or integrating it as adjunct therapy? I was definitely, and I wouldn't say, I don't participate in like the spiritual materialism. That's a whole another video. It's really this space of, wow, I get it. I understand astrology and the impact of how the planets affect our molecules and our the protons, electrons, and neutrons within our atoms, which make up our physical structure. How nature is so powerful. And so I'm really thankful, because my path really started with this, like, a lot of rigidity and the structural physical aspect. And now, as of 2020, it's really expanded so much into meditation, into narrative psychology, into, I was using poetry, but now using it in ways that are literally changing your system, changing my system through expression, through inquiry, through connection, through allowing the body to be its own organism that processes things that lead to hope and healing. And really getting to see the whole picture gives us so much courage and hope for how we can use this stuff in the future. And as I say that, that's exactly what I'm doing with the military and the projects that we're doing and the things I'm developing with them. That, again, I can't share too much, but what I can share is that, when you really look at creating and supporting people to be optimized and resilient, it's this mind-body medicine aspect that keeps it sustainable. Because other than that, it's just going to be a rumor of, the world is what you make of it, right? Okay, but when you actually feel, you're like, I am the author of my experience. I'm co-creative with providential unfolding, because I have choice, I have free will, I get to choose. Yoga is a catalyst to connect with your agency. It's a catalyst that brings you into your body to learn your nature, to learn your tendencies. We all got our own stuff. Everybody's got stuff. I think social media, forever, you hear about a long time ago, it's like keeping up with the Joneses. Like, we've lost so much of ourselves because we put on this presentation, when the truth is everybody's got stuff, and it's okay. Even petty stuff, it's okay. You're human. But when we start to actually acknowledge those things and go within, and then we sit in the discomfort and we offer it compassion and grace, and we do this on the mat without even talking about what your trigger is or what the trauma is or whatever. We don't really get into those stories, but we reframe sensation, which changes the relationship with the mind into the body, changes the relationship of the way you see the world, and then you begin to feel that agency in your life, that sovereignty. Meditation has been huge. I really, in the beginning, I resisted meditation, like back when I first learned about it in 2012. Got into it in 2017. But the reason I think I never got into it was because I thought it was so much of emptying. It was so much of stilling the mind, being still. And the truth is that it can be that, but it can also be receiving, welcoming, catch and release, movement, inquiry, visualization, anything that's yummy, just receiving love. So the world is much bigger than we think. And anyone who says they know everything probably know nothing. I hope this was encouraging to help give a little background on, I had a project I had to do recently, and they're like, for filming, and they're like, can you read out your yoga sequence so we can be prepared for what's going to be filmed? And I'm like laughing. I'm like, I don't plan my sequences, because I've learned how to connect with the person in front of me, whether it's, you can feel into it, you can see structurally. So it's just trusting. And now I'm starting to talk about things that probably don't make any sense. But if you do training with me, you'll learn about that. All right, that's enough of that. I hope this was encouraging. And Yeah. Go yoga.